Hi everybody, welcome to the very first video podcast from Rough Copy Media. I'm Andy Revel, your host. On my left is Calum McMillan.
How you doing?
And on my right is Stephen McElkenny.
Hello.
Hello, brilliant. Right, what's first? Again, I can't remember. We're doing Carmichael first, is that right?
Well, breaking news was...
breaking news, that's right, yes.
Yeah,
okay, so Tony Blair, I forgot all about this guy since he resigned as Prime Minister a few years ago.
Is that because you don't follow War Criminals Monthly?
Yes, that's right. And apparently he was the, what do you call it, peace envoy, right?
Yeah.
Peace
Middle
envoy
East.
to the Middle East, Russia, the States,
And the UN and the EU.
and the UN. Right, okay, so all of those, all the big ones.
Yeah.
But he's a dickhead, and apparently he's resigned. So
He's resigning in June, he's stepping down.
Oh, in June?
He's
Alright.
not just gone, sack this lads, I'm going home.
Yeah,
us in,
it's
Sam.
next month after he fulfills outstanding commitments, a source.
What, like actually bringing peace to the Middle East?
Yeah,
'Cause he's not done that.
He's not done that. I think more...
or
it's-
Russia.
Yeah,
Sorry,
no,
carry on.
if anything that's got worse, which, you know...
A bit of a shaky situation, I believe.
Yeah, so yeah, next month he steps down, I reckon, because he's exploited every business opportunity and avenue he could go down.
Or he just wants to make up time for his impending war crimes trial, which has to happen eventually.
When he's like 86.
My husband did to Nazis, I would just wait till they're really old and then
Oh,
lock them up.
then I'll claim.
I'm not saying Tony Blair's a Nazi, that would be jumping to extremes, but I am saying he is a war criminal.
Is that
which
not
is,
quite a good tactic though? Because you can just delay it as long as possible and then claim that you're too old to stand trial. And then-
I don't. The problem isn't that Tony Blair's trying to do that. The problem is that nobody's actually arresting him for
fussed,
being a
eh?
war
Yeah,
criminal.
no.
There was that guy a while ago who said if he met Tony Blair on the street, he would make a citizen's arrest of him as a war criminal, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know how you would really enforce that, but fair cop to the guy.
Yeah.
I'll at least hold back his left arm or something if he wants. Like,
I mean, the thing, Tony Blair's been in his role for 8 years, since 2007. It's like, think of what he's not done.
bring
Or
peace.
What he has, yeah. It's like,
Anything.
he named a foundation after himself.
He remains fully committed to assisting the international community in its work with Israel and Palestine.
Well, that's
So,
gone.
Oh, well, that's
swimmingly.
bollocks.
How many rockets did they launch each other?
That's
Well,
a straight up
Palestine
failure.
launched 5, so presumably Israel as a
5,000?
Yeah, as a response of appropriate nature by Israeli
Yeah.
standards.
Well, yeah, one of his main issues that Tony Blair felt was that there was a lot of political constraints, in terms of supporting the Palestinian people on economic development and strengthening
Is it
institutions.
because that so much of his money or so much of the money he helped make for the UK economy is based on selling guns to Israel?
Yes,
is
I
that,
think-
is
I
that the
think
constraints
that-
he's talking about?
It's almost like a guy realising 8 years later that his mistakes have cost him in the long run,
Yeah.
and or not even cost other people in the long run. But he's been feeling guilty about it.
Does he?
Well, that depends. It depends. So, are you trying to say the cost of human life outweighs the cost of the profit made from selling the guns?
Don't be
Well,
daft.
Tony
Nobody's-
Blair. You know.
Like, honestly, like I literally.
So what we're
have-
saying is guns are cool. People are kind of yeah. People are meh at best, but guns are always cool.
I have literally nothing to add to this story because genuinely, you guys said, "Oh, Tony Blair's resigned." I'm like, Tony
He's
Blair,
still alive.
was he not?
He's still a thing.
all right. That just goes to show how much of an impact he's had, which is to say, fuck all. Because like we said, okay, the Middle East is, I believe, all fine now. That's all sorted. The whole Middle East
No,
thing's-
that was they
so-
thought
so
that, but
sorted.
they were wrong.
And Russia, that's all sorted too.
Yeah, Putin's just going to
Yeah,
kill
oh yeah,
everybody.
aye, and yeah, cool, great, well,
I think we should make you should probably now go into like a cartoon industry and make like Tony Blair Saves the World cartoons. Because let's face it, he could probably do that now with the money he's made from people dying.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's
and
end this now.
speaking engagements as well, because
Yeah.
did he not do that for
Yeah, of course.
before he was peace envoy? He was like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm just going to walk around America for years getting paid like
Yeah.
millions to just talk shit.
But
I
to
can
end
do
it on
that
a
now.
positive note, he will remain active on the issues and in the region, but not in a formal role. Isn't that nice of him?
Well,
That is
I mean,
nice, but
active in-
given how little impact he's had in a formal role, I'm not convinced that the fact that he's going to take his tie off is going to help anybody.
Well, no. To be fair, everyone's
Hang on.
taking their tie off now. It's the kind of look.
Oh, yeah,
that every politician's going
In-
for.
We should have put a tie
in
on for
the
this, really,
region,
shouldn't we?
Which region is he talking about? He's a
Any
peace
of the
envoy to
regions.
fucking
All the
Middle
regions.
East and Russia and the EU
No,
and
he's,
the UN.
he's representing them.
All them in the
Where?
Middle East.
That's what's so beautiful
From
about this.
Kent,
No,
presumably.
so he represents, think of America and Russia's ideologies. He represents both of them through one person. He's literally just like he's the equivalent of like a walking Lib Dem. He's just
like,
whatever you want him to be.
Like literally, he's like Stalin and Nixon combined.
He's just a walking Lib Dem.
Yeah, he's everything you want him to be and more, but less at the same time.
But
that's the Lib Dem.
He's everything you want him to be and less,
but more.
Oh, okay. But I tell you what, lads, speaking of the Lib Dems,
the Lib Dem.
Well, the Lib Dem, the last Lib Dem in Scotland,
the last of them,
possibly soon to be the extinct Lib Dems in Scotland.
This guy.
Let's go back to podcast number 1. This was the second thing we ever talked about. I feel nostalgic and old.
It was the first thing we actually talked about. Right. Yeah. So, Monsieur Carmichael, excuse my French.
Oh dear.
It's because it's right in front of me here. This is kind of putting the cart before the horse a bit. But there's now a crowdfunding campaign in place to oust Alastair Carmichael, right? And there's 10 grand been donated to this thing already because, well, to put it bluntly,
he's a colossal prick.
He's a massive prick, and I wouldn't trust him as far as I could spit. So,
how far can you spit?
For his video now, so you can't need to watch what you say.
Damn. No, yeah. So, right, what's happening now? Because there's the police are saying they're going to investigate, but they don't really know if there's been criminality.
I think it was just one of those magnificent internal investigations that figured out that it was him, and then he went, "Okay, it was me. Sorry." Kind of like the bad guy in Scooby Doo, like when they take the mask off. Except it was a mask of Alastair Carmichael, which revealed it was Alastair Carmichael.
What I was quite sort of intrigued to see. Right now, they're talking about maybe investigating because there was maybe criminal action. But fuck off. How come Nicola Sturgeon doesn't just go right? Here's a lawsuit for libel. Why would she just not bother with that? Is it like take the moral high ground, or just fucking ignore it?
The moral high ground. Possibly, actually, just it does more damage to the Lib Dems to take that moral high ground politically for the SNP to go. Yes, okay, we accept your apology. We'll take the big boy approach, but also we want you to resign, because that kind of covers both things. Also, maybe she just doesn't care what Alastair Carmichael thinks or does, because I don't. I'd give like, "Aye, okay, mate, like your plan to smear me didn't work." But anyway, we discussed this in that first podcast. Within less than 24 hours, we'd established it was nonsense, and it made like zero impact. In fact, if anything, it strengthened the SNP. So unless Alastair Carmichael's like the best sleeper agent ever, which I think is unlikely, although he does look as though he spends a lot of his time asleep, but very little of it as an agent, if anything, worthwhile.
I think the main issue with the Carmichael thing is he's apologised for the wrong thing.
Yeah.
He came out and said, "Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't really look at the memo and I didn't know what I was doing when I looked at it."
He apologised for being careless rather than outright lying.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like getting me, and it's like, well, you can't keep going when there's like such a kind of, this is now gaining more and more momentum. I think you kind of hope to the story would go away. I think it's probably went the opposite way now, where people are just like, this guy just. The thing is, it's not like he's apologised and people are like, "Oh, it's good you've apologised for being careless with the memo. Now do you want to apologise for lying about it?" No, I'm good. And it's like, you can't just evade this question for the rest of your political career. You're ever going to have to like face it head on.
He might be able to. The rest of his political career might not be very long.
Well, I don't think
he literally might be able to avoid it.
He makes a good point. The thing that does irritate me like this, we've seen it like time and again, is people that get busted doing something, and they get forced to, you better just make a fucking public apology, right, and then everything will go away. And they go, "Okay, fine, I'm really sorry that you're offended by me being a dick. Bye, that's it, no further questions." Like, that's not a fucking apology. I want an abject, grovelling apology from this wanker.
No, but it's
not going to get one.
The thing is, he has apologised for the wrong thing as well. It's like,
it's not apologising.
It's not apologising for the thing that people want an apology for. It's
like slapping somebody in the face and then sneezing on them and apologising for sneezing on them.
Yeah, who's
which I'm sorry I did.
Who's the MP whose husband had watched the porn tape? Who was the politician who's?
Oh yeah. Was that not Harriet Harman's husband?
Harriet Harman's husband, right?
So Mr. Harman's
husband.
Yeah, and he watched online porn. It's the equivalent of him coming out and apologising for having the internet. And not, it's literally that's what Carmichael's done, and no one's going to be like.
To be fair, all terrible things can be found on the internet, much like this.
But you get the gist of it. It's not.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's coming out and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm really sorry," and he's just totally misread the situation. And even people now are coming out, like Tavish Scott, former leaders, kind of coming out and being like, "Yeah, I feel like let down. You've totally like misled people and
popped up." Basically.
Yeah, but I think as well, part of the whole thing, which now no one's really talking about, was the amount of pressure up in Orkney and Shetland that the SNP actually put on the Lib Dems when that was probably one of the safest seats in Scotland.
Yeah, they only won by a majority of 800 something like that.
But I think it was less than 1,000 for sure. And when you look at that, that's when you realise that at the time the guy was just clinging on to dirty tactics and just to hold on to his seat.
There's that great article in The Spectator. I'm not necessarily everyone who read The Spectator all the time because, a bit weird. But it was a great article that the editor wrote you could find online that was the 5 things Nicola Sturgeon is doing wrong by all other MP standards, and it was going out, meeting people, recruiting grassroots members of your party, doing all these things that by other MP standards are like kind of 70s and 80s tactics but are considered outdated by the larger parties who don't want to be people. For example, I went and took some lovely pictures you can find on roughcopymedia.com of Nicola Sturgeon when she came to visit Greenock in the run up to the general election. Must have been the Monday? Something like that.
Yeah. It was
quite close to it.
Aye.
Jim Murphy came the next day and I thought I'm going to go down, do a similar thing, do a kind of contrast piece, see what the difference is, that kind of thing, because Inverclyde's always been strongly Labour. I couldn't find any information on where Jim Murphy was going to be. There was none on his Twitter, none on the Twitter for the Inverclyde Labour candidate. There was no Inverclyde Labour Facebook that I could find. I couldn't find. But my dad had heard it on BBC Radio 5 Live, which clearly is the main source of information for most people in Inverclyde. But it turned out he just went to a nursery, presumably because nobody there would confront him.
Well, that's his level of
so
intellect.
That was the thing. I was able to very easily get involved with the SNP and go and get involved in their kind of stuff because they've embraced a new way, or not even a new way, it's kind of an old way.
It's not even a new way, it's a fucking blindingly obvious way. Is anyone surprised that Scottish Labour haven't got a fucking clue what they're doing? They're all running about like idiots.
I saw an article today that said that for Labour to survive in Scotland we have to become the grassroots movement for home rule. We have to just become that party. And that's
unfortunately the SNP kind of already do that.
Yeah, but they're saying we need to kind of jump on that, otherwise we're going to be left behind, which I think is probably true.
Aye. I would think. At the moment,
the only thing
that's
going to keep Labour limping alive in Scotland is PR. PR will still give them some seats and give them the ability to let Dugdale make a mess of it.
Of course, PR. But in the broader scheme, Westminster they told us all to vote against because it would probably cost them seats, and now they're absolutely bleeding seats for we really need PR less than 4 years after it was offered.
It was AV they offered us, not PR.
Well, it was proportional representation.
AV is not really proportional representation, but it's a move in the right direction, but it's not good enough. But we'll cover that in our electoral reform series, which will also be running on roughcopymedia.com.
Yeah.
Good ass plugging.
So when we're talking about Carmichael, do you want to hear what he said?
Yes,
please do. Because
can you read it in a funny voice?
It's brilliant, actually. But even better though is we'll do this. Do Carmichael's non-apology first, and then what do you call him? Malcolm.
Oh, Sir Malcolm Bruce.
So Malcolm Bruce's
Malcolm Bruce Wayne
defence. Which is Jesus, brilliant. It's gold.
Carmichael spoke on BBC Radio Orkney about the dossier that was leaked, and he said, what was true was that the first time I'd seen this document in its detail, in its text, was when I saw it published in the pages of the Daily Telegraph, where you see all memos that come from your office. I imagine that's where I'd like to see them anyway. If I was working. The proposal came to me by my staff, who said this is what was in the document. We think it should be put into the public domain. We believe it is in the public interest that it should be put out there, that there's something different being said in the public compared to what's being said in private. At that point, Carmichael, I should have said, no, don't do it. That was a mistake I made here. That's something that I cannot now undo. That is what I regret. No mention about the lie that he told right after it. That's what I've apologised for, and now the job I have to do is get on with the job I've been elected to do as a Member of Parliament for Orkney and Shetland.
Well, at least he understands how time works and that he can't, go backwards and undo things. I guess that is something.
Have you guys ever been in an election sort of campaign hub area?
No.
During
no.
Some of the people there are just, and don't mean it in a bad way, lunatics, right? They're just all over the place, they're just so driven, they'll literally say anything you want. I remember I went and campaigned for the SNP, and one of the women there was she's just crazy. She was like, oh, we should vote yes. I'm like, are you stuck in 2013?
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, it was this is been and gone. This is not what this is about. That's what I think best is. My staff came to me and said, I could have been bizarre.
It's moronic.
But
it's
yeah,
absolutely moronic.
So many people obviously criticised Carmichael, like Tavish Scott and former Lib Dem leader. Sir Malcolm Bruce jumped to his defence.
This is just to tee up a little bit. This is gold, right? And this is.
If I was Tony Blair, I would use his defence in my war criminal trial.
I can't even contain my glee.
This first sentence pretty much sums up how good this defence really is. When he was asked if lying was widespread in public life, Bruce said, "No." Well, yes. That is
a lie.
He literally lied first. I mean, that's.
Maybe he was doing that. Maybe it was a satirical move to illustrate his point.
Maybe.
I don't think it was.
I don't think. Do you really think I bet he sat up and was like, "I'm going to do that because I'm so witty." No,
that's what I would do.
Because
I'm an idiot.
Finish the quote. Right? No, yes.
No, well, yes. Lots of people have told lies, and you know perfectly well that to be true. We're getting confused.
What if that's a lie though?
I know.
Oh,
he suggested MPs could not be excluded for telling a lie if you are suggesting every MP has never quite told the truth or even told a brazen lie, including cabinet ministers, including prime ministers. We would clear out the House of Commons very fast, I would suggest. And then he basically goes on to say about how the SNP were in full hue and cry, and it was an ugly sight, and that Alastair recognised he made a mistake, he's apologised, and I think people in public life are entitled to make a mistake and move on. He's forgone his severance pay. What a hero. What a gent.
Some guy, eh?
Carmichael had misconducted himself as a minister, and he's apologised for that. That does not prejudice his capacity to be a first-class MP.
Right.
It kind of does.
It doesn't kind of.
It clearly
it
does.
fucking does, 100%, right? There's several things wrong with this. First of all, he's basically, in his first sentence here, he's basically alleging that every MP is a liar. Right? Now that's quite a sweeping statement. Second of all, he said MPs could not be excluded for telling a lie. What the fuck? Yes, they can, and they should. And why aren't they? This is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. Malcolm Bruce came and said that the SNP are clearly just using this to try and extinguish all opposition from. I got distracted. They got distracted. I got distracted.
They got distracted.
Come on.
No, they're
you're a
trying
handsome
to
man,
extinguish
Stephen, but
all
come on.
opposition in Scotland, and they'll stop at nothing to do it. Do you think that's the case?
No, I don't.
I don't know if they need to.
I don't think they care.
Also don't know if they need to try if the Lib Dems are just going to do this to themselves.
So many own goals, like in the indie ref and in the election more so. Like people say, "Oh, the SNP are just jumping on this and using it for political gain." Well, can you blame them, first of all, if they were doing that? And second of all, I don't think they really are. They're just
SNP are going to the effort to even jump. I think they just
can't
walk over.
You're making it easy for them.
That's the thing is...
You guys are... I'm kind of pro-SNP, right? I think you said you campaigned for SNP.
Yeah, I'm a member of the
right?
SNP.
That's great.
I'm also a member of the party.
But, I mean, you're making it easy for them. You're making it so easy for them. It's saying like, oh, by the way, the leader of one of the parties in Scotland that is in opposition to the SNP is just a fucking fat-faced liar, right? And then the guy that comes out and defends him just says, well, they're all liars, so we'd have to kill all of the politicians.
Also, I'm not sure how liberalism kind of marries up with being in the unelected House of Lords. Just saying, bro, not really the same thing. I'm not saying you're corrupt, easy for but you are a sellout.
I don't think... What?
You are. You're just... Seriously, right? The guy comes out and says, look, we'd have to empty the House of Commons. If we pulled up every MP for
bad idea.
We'd have to empty the House of Commons, right? Now, that may be true, mate, but first of all, you have to prove it. Second of all, if it is true, and most people think it is true, then that's what I'm fucking saying. Like, you're all a bunch of crooks. So
I think this maybe is a nice segue again.